This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. In yesterday's session, we talked about cache journal configuration according to a business requirement, right? Any doubts in yesterday's session?
No,
Configuration
sir.
and all?
No doubts.
Yes.
No, sir.
Now, what we'll do, we'll talk about vendor payments with cache journal. We'll see how we can initiate vendor payment using a cache journal. For this, what we need is, first we need a vendor invoice so that you will have an outstanding, and let us initiate the payment using petty cache. Let me open vendor line item report. Transaction code for vendor line item report. Anybody remember?
FBL1.
BL
FBL1
one.
BL1N, correct. FBL1N, pass your company code. Since we have only one vendor, I do not remember the vendor code, so I can leave this vendor code blank and then execute. But when you have multiple vendor codes, you are not supposed to run the vendor outstanding with a blank vendor because it might take huge time to give the output based on the number of records that are available on the system. Now let me execute. If I execute, I've got 3 vendor invoices and 1 credit memo. For credit memo, we will not make any payment. Let us make the payment for vendor invoice. Assuming we are going to make the payment for invoice number 19 ending with 1. What is the outstanding for this invoice?
12,000.
1,000. Right? Now, first point before we initiate vendor payment with cash, what is your prerequisite? You must have cash journal configured. Point number 1. Point number 2, your available cash is minimum 12,000.
Yes,
Correct?
sir.
Your cash availability is short. You cannot make this payment. Let's open another window. Stuck, I think. FBCJ. I'll run this report as well again. Otherwise, let me relog in. Something is wrong. Okay, let's try to initiate payment for the first invoice for 12,000. Before that, let us check our available cash balance. What is the available cash balance in this cash journal 1003?
9,300.
9,300. Now, can I make this payment of 12,000 with 9,300?
No, sir. Not possible.
Not possible.
It is not possible. First, what I need to do, I need to arrange additional cash in order to make this payment. First, let me receive some income, okay, which will make my available cash balance more than 12,000. So I'll go to cash receipts. Opening balance is there, or otherwise what I'll do, let me record one more invoice for short amount. I'll go to F-02. In this, I want one more invoice. For us to test this scenario, our intention is not to practice how to create a vendor invoice, correct? Our intention is to practice how vendor cash payment is made.
Yes, sir.
For us to initiate vendor cash payment, you must have one outstanding invoice. For invoice, instead of posting invoice again from the step by step, what you can do, you can copy the existing invoice, create with another invoice. I mean, create with reference to generate new invoice. I'll copy this document number. Go to F-02, FB01, F-43 any screen. On that screen, you will find post with reference. Click on this post with reference. It is nothing but copying the same information from an existing document. Company code and then fiscal year, enter. You just need to change something like this, enter, enter. So I do not want 12,000. Double click on this line item, change this to 4,000. Okay, here also you update this, update the amounts, star, star, then post. Now document 19 all zeros 4 is posted. Let me refresh the vendor line item report. List, refresh. Now can we see this invoice for 4,000 rupees?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now let us initiate payment for this 4,000 rupees. Now I'll go to this. Where should I go? Cash receipt or cash payment? On cash journal screen.
Cash
Payment.
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 Payment, cash payment.
For payment, let's go to cash payment tab. Business transaction. Open the list. Give your company code. Continue. Is there anything relevant to vendor payment here?
Vendor payments.
Right. We
Yes,
have
sir.
something called vendor payment. Select this. What is our invoice outstanding? 4,000.
Yes,
Right.
4,000.
So give payment amount as 4,000. This is not a GL posting. So leave the GL account blank and then text. I'll make payment for invoice. Vendor account, customer account. So this payment belongs to vendor. So you need to fill vendor account. Copy this vendor number 151 000 105 and pass the profit center. Enter. Okay. Select this. Click on save. Now payment has been made. Your cash balance has been updated. Now the revised cash available balance is 5,300. Let me post this. After posting vendor payment, your liability should become how much from 37,000? From 37,
53.
4,000 should be reduced. 33 it should become. Now when we refresh, should we see this 4,000 invoices open or it has cleared? This payment is already made. So this 4,000 is ideally cleared. This is no longer open invoice. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now let me go to list, refresh the report. If I refresh the report, your vendor account balance is properly showing 33,000. It is correct. But if you look at your vendor invoice, this is still showing as open. Your payment is also showing as open.
Yes, sir.
Your invoice is showing open. Your payment is also showing open, which means, so cash payment made to vendor using cash journal is always treated as on account payment. Which payment?
On account payment.
When we say on account payment, we are talking about something you have made payment but you did not refer any invoice. Okay, while making the payment transaction on petty cash or on cash journal, did we get any option to select the invoice number? While
No,
making
sir.
payment from petty cash, you will not get an option to select invoice. That is why this becomes your on account payment. Now, once payment is issued to the vendor using a cash, you will see another document appearing as open with a positive amount for 4,000. Now, what I have to do by looking at this vendor outstanding statement, I come to know that this 4,000 invoice has been paid with 4,000 cash. Now, these two are open or no longer open? These two are no longer open, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, these two offset each other. Sum of these two transactions is 0. What is the total of only these two transactions? 4,000 positive, 4,000 negative.
8,000.
Zero, sir.
0.
4,000 positive, 4,000 negative. 0.
Zero, sir.
Now, these kind of transactions will have to clear using clear vendor application. So, we have to apply cash payment to vendor invoice using clear vendor transaction. Which transaction? Clear vendor transaction. Now, let me open this clear vendor transaction. Anybody know the transaction code for clear vendor? F-44. Let me go to F-44. On F-44, you have to pass your vendor account number. This is your vendor account number. Okay. Clearing date is today's date. Clearing period is 2. Company code, clearing currency INR. Now, do I know which invoice and which payment to be offset or to be cleared? Do we know that data?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, you know which invoice and which payment to be knocked off or offset cleared. This is the invoice number. This is the payment number. Option number 1, you can go with document number. Option number 2, you can go with assignment field. Option number 3, you can go with amount. Likewise, you have different options to select the open items. If you choose none, it will display all the open items on the screen. You have to manually select, but that is not the right approach. Whenever you are trying to clear a vendor, you are clear that which documents you want to offset or knock off. In our scenario, we want to knock off this invoice with this payment document. These two are the document numbers, correct? 19 all zeros 4 and 15 all zeros
Yes.
1. Select these two documents, copy, Come to your clear vendor screen, select document number, click on process open item. Then put your document numbers here. Whatever the document numbers we copied there, you need to put this here and then click on process open item. By this, what system is going to do? Out of all the open items, it will display only these two open items. Clear? Let me click on process open item. Now, if you see, only these two documents are appearing on my screen. First amount is 4,000 negative, second amount is 4,000 positive. Are these appearing in blue highlighted color or black highlighted color?
Blue highlighted color.
Only the amount. Blue highlighted amount. Blue highlighted
Yes.
amount means the amount or the transaction is selected. If I double click on the amount, now this has become black. The amount has been updated, right? Now, to ensure that the transaction is selected or unselected, you need to look at the amount column. If this is blue highlighted, the amount is or the transaction is selected. If it is black highlighted, that is not selected. Let me select both. What is the transaction total value? Is there any transaction value or it's a zero transaction?
Zero transaction.
It's a zero transaction because you are not creating any additional financial impact. You are just moving the two open items from cleared items. Right? You are pushing the two open invoice and payment to the cleared transaction. Go to document on the top, click on simulate. If I click on simulate, this is what you are getting. Right? Now click on post. Whenever you get this, just ignore this third line item. We have configured this for exchange rate differences that we are going to discuss shortly. Now post. Okay, now clearing entry has been posted. Now if we refresh this report, this 4,000 invoice, 4,000 payment should no longer be outstanding or open. Let me go to list, refresh. Are they appearing now or they disappeared?
Disappear.
Now they disappeared. Right? So you might be questioned how we will make cash payments to the vendor. Your answer should be whenever you make cash payment to the vendor, your vendor cash payment is always treated as on account payment. Once you initiate the cash payment to a vendor, you will have to manually clear the transaction using clear vendor. Okay, so F-44 is the transaction. Okay. Any doubt so far?
Sir, once go to
Sir, I
cleared
have
item,
one
sir.
doubt.
Clear vendor.
Cleared item, sir, in vendor line item report.
Okay.
Here two documents got generated, sir.
Where here?
Yes, sir. 4,000, 4,000.
You mean this AB? AB is your clearing document. This one you mean?
Yes, sir. Two times it got generated. Why, sir? And when I check the line item report, two times I'm getting vendor.
I'll tell you. If you look at this, what entry is this? This is a clear vendor. Why we did clear vendor? let me, I think we made payment also on the same date. Okay. Before posting or before clearing, you had two lines, right? Invoice was there for 4,000, payment was there for 4,000, correct? Is this right? Before
Yes, sir.
initiating the clear vendor, this was your vendor outstanding status. You were having two open items. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, after clearing. Now, when you're clearing, what normally happens? You will have to clear the vendor. When you're clearing the vendor, you are going to offset invoice with payment. Now, these two will get connected. Debit becomes credit, credit becomes debit. Now, what was the accounting entry for your clearing? Vendor debit, vendor credit for zero value,
Yes, sir.
correct? Vendor account was debited for 4,000, vendor account was also credited for 4,000. So that this line item will require plus 4,000 to make it zero. This line item requires minus 4,000 to make it zero, correct?
Oh, yes, sir.
Right? That is the reason when you see this document, your debit is also vendor, credit is also vendor. Now in your transaction, how many lines are there in vendor account? One or two?
Two.
Two lines. Now what we are looking at is vendor line item report. So this vendor line item report will always display each line posted in the vendor account. If you post three times in the same document, you will end up getting three line items in your vendor. Okay, any clearing document you are going to identify not based on the document number but based on the clearing document number. If you look at this clearing document number, let me filter on this clearing document 102 all zeros is 6. This clearing document always picks all this, even though it is appearing twice. This is the same document number. You see below there is nothing, means it's the same document number. Now you see, you get same document number is appearing twice.
Hmm.
AB, if you see, it's coming twice because this document had debit and credit in the same account.
One
Okay,
time it should come. Sir.
no, it will not come one time. Your document has two legs in the vendor account, right? This is not document wise list, this is line item wise list. That is why the report itself is vendor line item. If you look at this document, there are three line items in this document. First line item is vendor account, second line item is vendor account, third line item is your exchange rate related account. So ignore this. How many lines you have in your vendor account?
Two.
Two lines. So as it is, these two lines will be displayed in your line item report. So this probably you will understand when you do something called installment purchases. What is installment purchase?
Purchasing installments.
Right? Let's say purchased washing machine from Bajaj Electronics for 40,000 INR, 6 installments. Now, what does this represent? What is the value of your invoice?
40,000.
40,000.
The value of invoice is 40,000. All right. Now, are we going to make this 40,000 in one shot or in 6 installments?
6 installments.
You're going to make the payment in 6 installments. Let's say if you're purchasing in February, and your each installment interval is 30 days. Every month you'll have to pay. Your payment begins from March, April, yes, no, May, June, July, August. Correct? Your invoice of 40,000 is due in every month partial amount. Let's say 40,000 by 6. Every month we'll have to pay 6,666 rupees. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Every month you'll have to pay 6,666 or 667. Now, when you have these kind of purchases, you will use something called, now everybody is aware of something called payment terms. What is payment terms?
Number of days.
What will
Credit period.
understand from payment?
Credit period.
Paying in
Payment
charges.
due dates.
That credit period or payment due dates. Based on the payment term, you will understand for each and every purchase that you are making when you have to initiate the payment. Let's say with my vendor, my payment terms is 15 days. What does this represent? Any purchase that I made from the vendor, I have to give him payment within 15 days. Correct? If I purchase on
Yes, sir.
1st, I'll have to pay by 15th. Similarly, if my credit terms or credit period is 1 month, any purchase I make, I'll have to pay within a month. I might also have discounted terms. When I say discounted terms, if I pay within 15 days, I may get 5% discount. If I pay within 30 days, there may be 2% discount. If I pay within 45 days, there may be no discount. Wherever you have discount concept, there is interest concept also. If I make early payment, I will be given discount. Correct? If I make early payment, I will get a discount. In the same scenario, if I make late payment, I will get interest charges. Late payment charges or interest charges for the number of days I am delaying the payment. So there may be a predefined or prefixed interest charge, let's say 10% per annum or 12% per annum, 15% per annum. Based on the number of days you are delaying the payment, system will calculate the interest. So these are all the small dependent topics on your accounts payable. Okay, so in short, your payment terms will talk about when your invoice falls due or when you have to initiate the payment, whether you get any discount while making the payment or you have to make the total net payment. This is what you will get in payment terms. Within the payment terms, you have something called installment payment terms. When you talk about installment payment terms, let's say if this is the normal payment term you are assigning for this invoice, what this will do, this will, washing machine will be debit 40,000 and vendor credit 40,000. When you use only payment term, when we are using payment term, system is directly taking 40,000 as a single liability. Correct? But whereas when you use when you use installment payment terms, same accounting entry, washing machine will be debit 40,000, vendor will be credit 6,666. Again vendor will credit 6666. Same document will appear or will show your vendor in 6 line items. Invoice number is 1. For one invoice you cannot split 3 invoices, correct? I am not supposed to post one invoice as a 6 invoices in my system. Instead, what I am going to do, I am going to split my liability into 6 line items. Each line item will have the different due date. First line item will have due date in March, second line item will have due date in April, third one due date in May, and so on, based on the installment payment term that you are defining. Even in this case, there will be one document which will show your vendor line in multiple times. Okay, so when we do this payment terms and then installment payment terms, you will have clear clarity on this. Okay, so regarding this is the standard behavior of the system. Okay, anything that you are clearing, you are not going to identify them by document number. Instead, you will have to identify all your clearing documents based on the clearing document. Okay, your clearing document is group of open items. So you can clear 100 transactions into one. When you call this clearing document, this will give you the details of 100 line items which are included in this clearing. Okay. So when we are back to accounts payable postings, there I'll explain you with clear examples on this, because we need multiple records so that you will be able to understand. You can perform clear vendor with one vendor. You can also perform clear vendor with multiple vendors together. Okay, clear?
Sir,
Yes.
we have we have an open item with 12,000. So on the cash closing balance is 8,000. Okay. So can we make 8,000 using the cash and remaining amount with the bank transfer?
You can do it. In that case, that is part of your part payment.
Okay.
Your invoice is 12,000. All right. Cash you are making 8,000. Bank you are making 4,000. So what you'll have to
Yes.
do, invoice will be 12,000 open. Cash payment is open because this is on account.
Um,
Your
yes.
bank payment is open. This is not on account. This is part payment. Then clubbing all these three, you'll have to perform clear vendor.
In the clear vendor,
Because your
we will, yes.
yes,
In
in
bank
clear
clear, we'll
vendor,
make
you have to
4,000.
select, you have to three.
Okay.
Uh, Like we have raised the invoice, there were two profit center. While making the payment, how will the cashier know which profit center we need to select, sir?
The cashier will have to open the invoice. Normally, if you have such invoices wherein there are two profit centers,
Hmm.
when the cashier is making the payment, he
Hmm.
will either use the common profit center or he will have to open the document and then check the profit center.
But while entering the amount, we have the option of entering only one profit center.
That profit center is for cash account, not for the vendor. Because from the cash payment, you are not going to connect the invoice. When there is no connection with invoice, there is no concept of document splitting when it comes to cash payment, because you are not selecting the invoice, correct?
Yes, yes.
When you're not selecting the invoice, there is no point of profit center or document splitting. for cash payment. So what you have to do, you have to manually input the profit center. If the cashier is aware of the profit center, normally cashiers will be aware for which vendor they are making the payment, because they know the invoice, right?
Mm,
They will get the information, make the payment to this vendor against this vendor, this invoice, because
okay.
they'll have to write the data in the comments,
Yes, sir.
payment against what. Otherwise, this will create so confusion. Why cash is issued? This is against which invoice? Again, there will be a question.
Mm,
So cashier will have the supporting document. Please make the payment to this vendor for this much amount for this invoice. So they will get this. And then the person who is making this documentation is supposed to mention the profit center. Please charge this to this profit center.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any other questions? No questions? All right then. Let me stop the recording.